College of Agriculture, or UPCA. Through its 112 years of existence, the college has produced over 1,000 technologies and variety of plants and animals, 9 national scientists, over 30 outstanding young scientists, and more than 18,000 graduates contributing to agricultural development. UPCA, now College of Agriculture and Food Science, or CAFS, has been continuously contributing to nation building through its instruction, research, and extension function. A mere 10 years after establishment, the college was able to start breeding works with the production of sugarcane varieties with high productivity and resistance to Fiji and mosaic disease, contributing to agriculture. In the 1920s, the importance of agriculture was intensified, and UPCA was recognized as neighboring countries began sending their students to Los Baños because of the high quality of education. In the 1930s, breeds with superior characteristics such as the Burkhala pig, Los Baños Cantonese chicken, and filament cattle were developed. The 1960s was a fruitful decade for research. Makapuno, a coconut cultivar often made into a dessert, was pioneered and perfected. Meanwhile, the Dairy Training and Research Institute was the first in the country to freeze buffalo semen, paving the way for artificial insemination of local carabaos. Along with the establishment of UPLB in the 70s, the college received the prestigious Ramon Magsaysay Award for International Understanding, Asia's counterpart for the Nobel Peace Prize. In the same decade, the C4 plants were developed. The soil test kits were produced in support of the Masagana 99 program, and the mango induction technique was introduced. Continuing the production of quality research outputs in the 1980s, techniques to minimize post-harvest losses, the accelerated fish sauce manufacturing process, and the rapid test kit for the detection of pesticide residue on vegetables were developed. The 1990s saw many new varieties across species or crop types, including Sinta papaya, the first Philippine-bred hybrid, UPLB Gold, a durian variety, and Doña Amelita, a musaenda named after the wife of former President Fidel Ramos. The award-winning National Corn-Based Farmer Scientist RDE Training Program, or FSTP, was also established around this time and still remains as one of the university's primary extension programs. In the field of instruction, the book titled Integrating Sustainable Agriculture in the BSA Curriculum, the UPLB College of Agriculture Experience, was published in 1999. At present, the College of Agriculture and Food Science, or CAFS, continues to be the premier institution of higher learning in agriculture and food science, and remains committed to nation building through its instruction, research, and extension programs. In order to produce the best graduates, all of our courses are outcomes-based education, and continuous improvement of the curriculum is being practiced to meet the challenges of the 21st century. As testament of excellence, CAFS is constantly recognized by different organizations. In research, we continue to implement relevant studies with focus on the 12 priority commodities to address food security. Moreover, technologies are constantly developed to aid in responsible food production. Supplementing these are extension activities to disseminate the knowledge generated to improve food productivity and livelihood of the people. We believe that present technologies will future-proof our food systems. Some of our notable developments are ID Tech, Caraginam, Plant Health and Pest Clinic, Pest Management Tools and Techniques, Smarter Pest Identification Technology or SPITech, Snap Hydroponics, Drone Technology, Rapid Immunofilter Assay for Virus Indexing, Nanofertilizers Fertigrow, Corbogrow, Nanobiosensors, Biochar. We at the College of Agriculture and Food Science will continue to promote and nurture a culture with innovative yet conscientious minds and cutting-edge skills to lead and serve the country and the region. We are one college with one goal towards sustainable food systems.
All right, so good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 7th and final installment of Aggie P.2 webinar series brought to you by the College of Agriculture and Food Science at the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. This season is themed Tree of Life, Part 2, where we feature some of the most progressive people working on the field of coconut production, technologies, and utilization. My name is Nigel Bautista, University Research Associate at the Institute of Animal Science, CAPS UPLB, and I will be your host this morning. On behalf of CAPS Dean, Dr. Elpidio M. Agbiset Jr., and the CAPS Webinar Committee headed by CAPS Associate Dean for Research Extension, Dr. Lilia M. Fernando Corpus, we welcome everyone who joined us this morning. Ayan, magandang araw po sa lahat ng ating participants na nasa Zoom, ang ating mga participants na nakikinig sa live CAPS Facebook page and sa YouTube channel. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. For this episode, we are introducing yet another resource person to talk about coconut co-products as feed ingredients in livestock and poultry diets. I know all of you are excited, but before we begin, let me remind you of our webinar house rules. First, always keep your microphones on mute to avoid distractions during the talk of our resource person. Next, for questions, Zoom participants may use the raise hand button or you may type them in the QA tab. For our online viewers, please use the comment section of our Facebook page or YouTube channel to type your questions. We are also joined by my colleague, Ms. Kamla Lavadia, as our online moderator. And lastly, please answer the evaluation form to get your e-certificates. And now, to formally welcome us to this episode is one transformative leader in agricultural education. She is also a faculty at the Institute of Crop Science and currently serving as CAPS Associate Dean for Research and Extension. She was also my former immediate supervisor at the Biotech UPLB. Without further ado, let us all welcome Dr. Lilia M. Fernando Corpus. Good morning po, Doc Lia.
Good morning. Dinig ba ako? Baka
Yes po, Doc.
Okay. Tuwa naman ako sinabi ni Nigel. So good morning sa lahat. Good morning, Nigel. Good morning kay Dr. Sulabo, our esteemed guest speaker for today. Okay, so sabi nga ni Nigel, ang dami nating matututunan and this is the last episode, at least for this series, of our Tree of Life webinar. Okay, so we've heard about applications of coconut in crop production, crop protection, application in the food industry. Now we hear from Dr. Solabo, ano naman yung ating paggagamitan ng coconut co-products sa livestock and poultry. So, hindi ko na po papatagalin ha kasi gusto ko lang naman kayong i-welcome talaga sa ating webinar ngayon. I believe makakapagbigay ng new idea sa ating lahat, sa ating mga viewers, ang i-share ng mga information ngayon ni Doc Romel. And I hope din na lahat ito, no, lahat ng mga webinars natin sa Tree of Life, sa Coconut, makapag-empower sa ating mga farmers and sa Filipinos as a whole. Sabi nga nila, ang agriculture talaga ang mag-feed, no, sa ating nation, hindi lang sa ating family. So let's utilize what's given to us like the coconut. Pagyamanin natin ito, and from that, no, alam ko lahat tayo ay hindi lang kikita, no, pero doon natin makikita yung ating magandang kabuhayan. Okay, so magandang umaga po sa lahat and let's enjoy po lahat ng ating matututunan ngayon and ang ating talakayan mamaya. Thank you.
All right, so thank you po, Doc Leah, for that very inspirational talk. So now, may we ask our panelists to turn on their cameras for a group photo? Sir Arthur, kindly take a screenshot po. Thank you. Please open po your cameras. Okay po, sir? Okay na po ba?
Okay na po.
Okay po. All right, so now I'm so excited to introduce to you, to all of you, our resource speaker this morning. We are joined today by another forward-thinking scholar who achieved great heights in the field of agriculture and animal nutrition. He is a graduate of Bachelor of Science in Agriculture, major in Animal Science here at UPLB, and completed the degree Master of Science in Animal Science from the same university. He then pursued the degree Doctor of Philosophy in Animal Science at the Kansas State University, USA, and a double postdoctorate degrees from KSU and the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, USA. As a seasoned scholar, our guest speaker is listed in the World Scientist and University Rankings 2022 of the Alfred Douglas Scientific Index. He is the top 1 scientist in the Philippines for animal science, top 2 in Asia, a mark of true hayop sa galing, hayop sa diskarte, and tatak ansay. Our speaker is actively working towards the advancement of animal science in the country. He has published more than 15 notable scholarly outputs as author and co-author in both ISI and non-ISI journals. Today, he will share a talk on coconut co-products as feed ingredients in livestock and poultry diets. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our director at the Institute of Animal Science, CAPS UPLB, and resource person this morning, Dr. Romel C. Solabo. Welcome to Aggie Talk, Dr. Romel.
Thank you very much, Nigel. Magandang umaga po sa ating mga kasama ngayon sa ating webinar. Can I share my screen?
Yes po, Doc.
Okay, so again, magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Ako po ay nagagalak na maging bahagi ng series ng Aggie Talk at particularly po sa ating sinusundang serye on coconut, which is the tree of life. And I think nararapat lang siguro na ang pinakahuling episode ng series na to ay magiging ukol sa mga produkto na manggagaling sa ating coconuts at na magagamit po natin sa both sa livestock and poultry industry. At ang pag-uusapan po natin ngayon is to look at coconut co-products as feed ingredients for livestock and poultry. So siguro para mas maintindihan natin yung value ng mga alternative feed ingredients which would include coconut co-products, I think it's important for us to go back a little bit on
the goals of animal nutrition. So as animal nutritionists, ang aming objective is to develop effective feeding programs that can help our farmers achieve better profitability, to have better product quality and sustainability of their enterprise. And to develop effective feeding programs, it has two main components. So the first would be accurately assessing the dietary supply of nutrients. And then the second component would be accurately assessment of the requirements for nutrients of the animals that we will be feeding. So dalawang aspeto ito na talagang kailangan pagtuunan ng pansin para masigurado natin na talagang magiging maganda at epektibo yung mga feeding programs na ginagamit po natin sa pag-aalaga ng ating hayop. Pero pagdating sa dietary supply of nutrients, ito ay ukol sa ingredients na ginagamit natin. It's really important that we have a good assessment of the feeding value and the nutritional value of feed ingredients, especially when we talk about alternative ingredients. So ano ba yung sinasabi nating alternative ingredients? So kung may alternatibo, meron traditional. At ang traditional is yung mais at soya na ginagamit natin sa feeds. But marahil siguro kung kayo ay nasa pag-aalaga ng hayop, alam po natin na ito ay mas lalong mas lalong nagmamahal habang tumatagal. Kaya mas lalong nagiging importante para sa atin na maghanap ng mga alternatibong materyales na pwede nating ipalit sa mga traditional feed ingredients na ginagamit natin, tulad ng copra or copra meal. Kaso nga lang, merong mga risk na kaakibat ang paggamit ng mga alternative feed ingredients. So ano po to? Unang-una, alam po natin na ang mga alternative feed ingredients ay kalamitan byproducts ng mga iba't ibang production flows. Tulad po ng copra. Ang copra po ay byproduct ng production po ng coconut oil. At dahil siya po ay byproduct, kalimitan yung mga planta na nagpo-produce po ng coconut oil ay hindi masyado binibigyan ng pansin yung kalidad ng byproduct na napuproduce nila. So dahil doon, nagkakaroon tayo ng issue on variability. So dahil variable siya, napaka-importante para magamit natin na mas epektibo ang copra, kailangan accurate at kailangan meron tayong ability na ma-determine yung profile or nutrient profile ng materials na ginagamit po natin. Pangalawa, alam din po natin na pag byproduct, kalimitan ng issue ay mataas ang dietary fiber. At dahil dito, meron po siyang risk. Risk when it comes to performance, it can influence product quality, and in the case of copra, it can also influence safety. Kasi nga po ang copra, ang isang common po nating problem would be the high probability of aflatoxin contamination dahil nga po sa paraan ng ating pagpapatuyo at pagsustor ng copra na nagiging dahilan ng pagtubo ng mga molds na nagpo-produce po ng mycotoxin tulad po ng aflatoxin. Pangatlo, isang napaka-importanting bagay pagdating sa paggamit ng mga alternative feed ingredients is understanding and knowing what anti-nutritional factors are present in that material. At sa copra, mamaya mapag-uusapan natin yan. Dahil siya'y anti-nutritional factor, sa pangalan pa lang, alam na natin, meron siyang epekto sa ability ng ating mga hayop na gamitin yung mga sustansya na nasa materyales o nasa feed. So dahil dito, ito ay isang bagay na kailangan po nating either ma-mitigate natin yung effects or ma-eliminate siya dun sa materyales para mas maigi natin siya magagamit na materyales sa feed. Pang-apat, kailangan din po natin maintindihan yung epekto niya sa gastrointestinal health ng ating mga alaga. Kasi kung hindi maayos ang gut health ng ating hayop, hindi rin niya ma-digest ng maigi yung kanyang kinakain. At dahil dito, napaka-importante na malaman natin kung may epekto ba siya pagdating sa intestinal health. Panglima ay yung risk of contamination. Siguro nabanggit una yung issue of aflatoxin. So hindi lamang po hayop ang posibleng maapektuhan ng aflatoxin, pwede rin po yang ma-deposit sa mga produkto ng mga hayop na inaalagaan natin. Halimbawa po sa gatas, yan po ay paaring maipasa sa gatas ng ating hayop. And then, pag nag-evaluate po tayo ng alternative materials, importante rin na alam natin kung ano po yung quantity at potential volume ng materials na pwede natin gamitin. Pag nag-iisip po kasi tayo ng alternative feed ingredient na ide-develop, importante na malaman kung kaya ba siyang i-produce in commercial scale. Kasi kung hindi po natin siya kayang i-produce, then definitely our efforts in developing that material may not be would not be as successful. Kaya napaka-importante yung aspeto ng production of that material. And then panghuli is yung ease of handling at yung impacts niya sa manufacturing process. So hindi lamang po yung nutritional value ng material ang importante, kailangan naintindihan po natin kung may negative effect ba siya pagdating sa pagpoproseso ng feed, pag hinalo na siya o pag sinama na siya sa formulation ng ating animal feeds. So, kailangan lahat ng ito ay maintindihan natin every time we look at an alternative feed ingredient. Okay. So, pagdating po kasi sa pag-develop ng mga feeding programs at paggawa at pag-formulate ng ating feeds, ang number one po na kailangan po naming ma-achieve is accuracy. Dahil kung hindi po accurate yung aming feed formulations, then that could potentially impact both performance and consequently the profitability of the operation. So if we overestimate the nutritional value of the materials that we use in the diet, then that could lead to challenges. The same is true if we underestimate the nutritional value of feed ingredients when we use them in the diets. That could also lead to more expensive feed formulation. So kaya ang byword po namin pagdating po sa paggawa ng effective feeding systems is precision nutrition. Kaya napaka-importante na pag may materials ka na very variable, meron ka dapat talagang pamamaraan kung paano mo mas dynamically ma-determine yung feeding value ng material na yon para mas effective natin siya magagamit sa diets. Okay. So dahil dito, malaki ang naging effort po para sa pagkaroon ng ability na maging mas precise yung ating feed ingredient evaluation. And then if we would look at the developments in different nutrients, makikita po natin yan. So from maybe formulating on digestible or metabolizable energy, tayo po ngayon ay nag-shift na to a more accurate energy system which is net energy. Pagdating naman sa protina, hindi po basihan yung level ng protina sa isang materyales para masabi natin na mas maganda ang isang materyales over another. Dahil ang protina per se, ang hindi naman kinakailangan ng ating hayop. Ang mas kinakailangan nila ay yung mga essential amino acids na bumubuo ng protina na ito. At kinakailangan yung mga amino acids na yon ay digestible to the animal. Kaya kailangan alam po natin yung tinatawag na standardized ileal digestibility ng mga amino acids. At pagdating naman po sa mga minerals, importante po ang phosphorus dahil yan po ang third most expensive nutrient na pinoprovide natin sa diet. Kaya kinakailangan alam po natin how much ba talaga nakukuha natin sa mga materials na ginagamit natin sa feed. So from available phosphorus now to what we call standardized total tract digestibility of phosphorus. At ganun din po sa calcium, moving from total calcium to digestibility of calcium. So itong lahat na ito ay efforts ng community, ng mga researchers para mas maging precise yung ating mga feed formulations pagdating sa paggamit ng mga alternative materials in the feed. So ngayon pupunta po tayo sa ating star of the show, which is copra meal. So sa ibang bansa, mas familiar sila sa tawag na coconut meal rather than copra meal. Pero sa atin po, tayo ay mas nasanay na po sa term na ito, yung copra meal. So ano nga uli ang copra meal? So ito po ay yung residual product na nakukuha po natin after ma-extract yung coconut oil from the dried endosperm of the coconut. At kalimitan, ito ay about 35 to 40% by weight after ma-extract yung oil from the copra. At tayo po dito sa Pilipinas, ito marahil ang isa sa mga primary na traditional but primary feed protein na pwede po nating gamitin na pampalit o maybe pambawas sa traditional na protein source na ginagamit natin sa feed, which is soybean meal. Okay. So, tignan muna natin ano ba ho yung mga different alternative oilseed meals na meron po tayo sa industriya ng animal feeds. So kung titingnan po natin ng global oilseed productions, which would be related to the vegetable oils that are produced. Ang pinakamalaki po ay soybean. So soybean oil ang primary o pinakamalaking porsyento pagdating sa vegetable oils na ginagamit at minamarket. At makikita po natin ano po yung mga alternatives to soybean oil. So canola, sunflower, peanut oil, cottonseed oil, and palm oil. So lahat pong ito ay mga alternative oil seeds or na ginagamit para mag-produce ng mga vegetable oils na mabibili rin po natin sa merkado. At mapapansin nyo po doon sa listahan na to, ang pinakamababa po ay copra. So sa atin, ang pinakamalaki ay coconut oil. Pero sa buong mundo, ito po ang pinakamaliit when it comes to oil seeds na ginagamit for vegetable oil production. So kung yun po ang listahan ng mga oil seeds for vegetable oil production, ito naman po yung ating world protein meal consumption. So dahil soybean oil ang pinakamalaking oilseed meal na napoproduce po sa mundo at ginagamit sa buong mundo ay soybean meal. At yun po ang dahilan, isa pong dahilan kung bakit ang soybean meal ang traditional na protein source na ginagamit po natin sa feed. Na yung wide availability po niya, talagang masosource mo siya sa maraming bansa. At pangalawa, ang kagandahan din ng soybean meal ay mataas ang kanyang protina at mataas ang concentration ng mga essential or what we call indispensable amino acids na kinakailangan talaga ng ating hayop. So yun ang kagandahan ng soybean meal. Kaya sa dahilang yon, napakahirap pong palitan. At para humanap ng kapalit ng soybean meal, dahil ito po ay ini-import po natin, tayo po, ang Pilipinas ay isa sa pinakamalaking importer ng soybean meal sa buong mundo. So kung tayo magdedepende lamang sa pag-i-import ng soybean meal at wala tayong pampalit or pambawas man lang, then that would lead to potential issues. Kaya mas lalo nagmamahal ang ating feeds. Kaya kailangan talaga natin mag-develop ng mga alternative materials na pwede natin gamitin pampalit sa ating mga ini-import na materials tulad ng soybean meal. So kung ititignan natin sa listahan na ito, as we would expect, copra meal would be one of the smallest, if not the smallest, in terms of the protein meals that are consumed in the world. And if we look at the top producers of copra meal in the world, that is mainly in our region. So the Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand, that is where you can get the most of the copra meal that can be used in animal feed. Which is understandable dahil nandito naman ang karamihan ng mga coconuts na ginagamit din for coconut oil production. Okay, so balikan natin. So paano ba natin napoproduce o nakukuha yung ating mga co-products tulad ng copra meal? So again, ang copra ay ating kinukuha, yung ating coconut meat, at yan ay nililinis, yan ay pinatutuyo. At pag nasa planta na yan ay i-reduce ang size at saka siya i-steam condition. So yung steam conditioning process is a way for them to really extract as much of the oil that is present in copra. No? So may dalawang pamamaraan kung paano nakukuha yung langis na nasa kopra. So it's either through mechanical pressing or screw press or through solvent extraction. Ang ginagamit po nila dyan ay hexane. Ang solvent extraction ay mas effective sa pagkuha ng langis na nasa kopra. So kaya ito po yung dahilan kung bakit yung in the byproduct, ang lamang langis ay mas kokonti kumpara sa materyales kung saan kinuha ang langis through mechanical pressing. So kung makikita natin dito, yung through mechanical pressing, ang residual oil content is about 5 to 10%, while sa solvent extraction is less than 2%. No? Kaya ito yung pagkakataon ko na para maitama natin yung nomenclature na ginagamit natin sa feed. Kalimitan ginagamit natin sa material na to ay copra meal. Pero ang karamihan ng copra na napuproduce sa atin sa Pilipinas ay through mechanical pressing. No? So ang tawag doon, pag ito ay through mechanical pressing, is expellers. Pag solvent extracted meals, ito naman yung tinatawag na meal. So yung copra meal, hindi tama yung term. So dapat ang tawag po natin sa nakukuha nating copra ay copra expellers. At yan din na po ang ginagamit natin for all oilseed meals. Pag mechanical extraction, expellers. Pag solvent extraction, meals. At dahil lang sa difference sa residual oil content, madi-differentiate na natin yung dalawang produkto na iyon. So dahil dito, siguro magkakaroon na tayo ng expectation kung ano yung potential value ng dalawang materials na to. So dahil mas mataas yung residual oil content ng expeller, you would expect that it would have higher energy and it would contain less protein, while meals would have lower energy but higher levels of protein. So just by simply understanding the differences in the process. Okay, so tingnan natin muna kung ano yung value ng mga produkto. So ang main product talaga ng vegetable oil processing is the oils. So ginagamit po natin yan sa pagluluto at for other purposes. Pero sa feed, ginagamit din po natin yan as our one of our main energy sources. At para sa atin dito sa Pilipinas, again, as we would expect, coconut oil would be the primary fat source. So dito, makikita natin yung fatty acid profile ng mga lauric oils. And that's what we call coconut oil and palm kernel oil, simply because they contain high concentrations. Almost half of the fatty acids that are present in these materials are lauric acid, or is lauric acid, which is medium chain fatty acid, saturated siya. So though saturated siya, dahil medium chain siya, mas madali siyang ma-absorb ng ating baboy at ganoon din po sa ating mga manok. Kung ikukumpara natin ngayon si coconut oil from palm oil, which is the main alternative source that is available in the Philippines. We import a lot of palm oil, especially when coconut oil prices are very high. Makikita nyo na though pareho silang vegetable oil, ibang-iba ang kanyang fatty acid composition. So ang palm oil, mas mataas ang concentration ng palmitic acid at mas mataas yung degree of unsaturation niya. So yung mga oleic acid, linoleic acid, yan ay mga unsaturated fatty acids. At malaki ang effect niyan, pag ang isang fat ay mas mataas sa unsaturated fatty acids at pag yan ang primary fat source natin, ang effect niyan sa fat quality is that fat becomes softer. But if you feed them saturated fats, their fat becomes firmer. So just by changing the fat source can influence the carcass fat quality of the animals that we feed. So hindi simply na dahil pareho silang vegetable oil, pareho na ang value niya. Okay, and then here we have yung kanyang energy values. So this is by species. Meron po tayong for broilers, layers, and for swine. And ang gusto ko lang i-emphasize dito is the value of coconut oil. So in pigs as well as in poultry, particularly in broilers, kahit mababa yung kanyang degree of unsaturation, mataas ang kanyang energy value. So kaya itong isang napakalaking benefit po natin dahil available po ang coconut oil sa atin. Yan ang ating primary fat source, so which is one of the best oils that we could use in feed. Okay. So now let's look at the byproduct or the co-product. So bakit ko ba tinatawag na co-product yung kalimitan tinatawag nating byproduct? Kasi by simply changing the prefix, it changes the meaning. Ano? Pag sinabi nating byproduct, it seems to have a lower value. Elevate yung copra or copra expeller. So that's why I say value ng material, which is true. So we had the opportunity to conduct some work. About a few years ago, we did a large study evaluating different coconut co-products in the entire Philippines. So this represented about 28 different sources of coconut co-products from Luzon down to Mindanao. So ang gusto ko ipakita dito is the degree of variation. So kalimitan, ang iniisip natin pag copra, protein source, which may be true because relatively mataas ang protein. So ikukumpara natin yan sa soya. Soya has about 47% protein. So it has about less than half of what we have in soybean meal, or almost a third. But what is important to take note here is the degree of variation. So you would have as low as 12% to as high as 26%. Ganon din yung fat content. So on average, it's about 10%, pero the range is from 7% to 21%. So that's why the CVs are very high. So kung ang ether extract or fat has a big impact on the energy value of the material, kung iisa lang yung energy value na ginagamit natin for copra, then that means there is a high likelihood that we are either over-formulating or we are under-formulating our diets. Now, the other issue with copra is the relatively high levels of dietary fiber. So you have neutral detergent fiber, so ito yung mga hemicelluloses, celluloses, and lignin. And then ADF would be more of the insoluble fibers. Kasi ito po yung cellulose at lignin. So makikita natin the levels are very high, about 59% on average for NDF and about 33% for ADF. Kung ikukumpara natin yan sa soybean meal, that is probably more than 10 times higher in fiber content. At mamaya makikita natin bakit importante yung NDF content ng copra. Ano ba magiging impact niyan sa feeding value ng material. But it's very clear, napakataas niya sa copra. And then, in terms of mineral composition, it has a low concentration of calcium and phosphorus as we would expect. And then, medyo mataas ang kanyang ash. Even though mababa ang calcium and phosphorus. So ibig sabihin, merong component na nasa feed na can be part of ash na hindi calcium and phosphorus dahil mataas ang kanyang ash content. And then as I mentioned kanina, one of the main issues in the industry in the use of copra is the high probability of aflatoxin contamination. So dito nakita na namin yan. So on average, 67 ppb yung aflatoxin, which is above the standard. Kalimitan, ang acceptance level for copra is less than 50. Yung iba, mas stricter pa, less than 30. But here, you see that there are samples that would meet that standard, but we would have samples that can have very high levels of aflatoxin contamination. So ito isang major issue that limits the use of copra in the feed industry. And then, it's amino acid composition. So kung ikukumpara natin siguro yung amino acid composition, amino acid content ng copra versus soybean meal, kung sa protein is about half lang or less than half ang nasa copra compared to soybean meal, pagdating sa amino acid concentrations, this is probably in a factor of 10. So almost 10 times less than what you would have in soybean meal. So kaya doon sa perspective pa lang na yun, makikita na natin na hindi talaga pwedeng ipalit weight for weight basis ang copra sa soybean meal. Dahil in terms of composition pa lang ng indispensable amino acids, ang laki na ng pagkakaiba niya. So sa itsura pa lang, makikita na agad natin that copra is a very variable product. So this is just an example. These are samples that we've received for copra. At sa kulay pa lang, makikita nyo that there are copra that are very dark in color, while there are copra samples that we could get that are lighter in color. So hindi ko alam kung nakakita na kayo ng mga ganito, but this you could really buy. At mamaya ipapaliwanag ko ano ba itong mga white na samples na to, na copra rin ang tawag natin. So just simply by looking at color, we already know that this material is a very variable material. Again, this is another study that I had opportunity of conducting. So this is comparing copra meal with palm kernel products, which is the material that is closest in profile to copra. At pareho yan ginagamit as an alternative to soybean meal. But kung titingnan natin, ang copra, again, it's about 20-21% protein, and if soybean meal is 47%, so again, it's less than half. But palm kernel products is much less than that of copra. At again, ito gusto kong i-emphasize. Yung fiber composition ng copra is way more than what you would have in soybean meal. At malaki ang magiging implication yan sa feeding value ng material na ito. Ganun din sa amino acids. Ito yung pinakita ko kanina. So 22%, 47%. But again, yung composition ng amino acids, especially mga important na essential amino acids, ang laki ng difference compared to soybean meal. Right. So to really have good information kung ano talaga yung value ng isang material, we need to know the digestibility of the different nutrients. In this case, in this slide, this is for amino acids. So the way we do that is we use what we call ileally related pigs, where we put cannulas at the end of the distal ileum ng ating mga baboy, and that is where we collect the sample. Dahil ang absorption ng protein or absorption ng amino acids ay nangyayari lang hanggang sa end ng small intestine. So pag doon po natin siya i-measure at pag yan po ay kinorek sa tinatawag po nating basal endogenous losses, yun yung tinatawag po natin na SID or Standardized Ileal Digestibility. So dito ang pinapakita ko lamang ay yung 4, pero alam naman po natin siguro na 10 po ang indispensable amino acids. Pero dito pa lang makikita natin na ang copra, mas mababa ang digestibility niya sa lysine, sa methionine, sa threonine, at sa tryptophan compared to soybean meal. So mas mababa na yung kanyang concentration, mas mababa rin ang kanyang digestibility, lalong-lalo na pagdating sa lysine, which is kalimitan, yan yung ating first limiting amino acid. So bakit mababa ang kanyang digestibility ng lysine? Ito po yung sa kadahilanan na dahil nga niluluto ang copra, it undergoes a lot of heating processes in the production of copra. Nagkakaroon po tayo ng tinatawag na Maillard reaction. So yung lysine na nandun sa copra, yan po ay nagko-complex sa mga reducing sugars. So tulad po nito, ito po ay lysine at ito po yung sugar. Yan po ay magko-complex sa lysine. At pag nag-complex po yan, yan po yung tinatawag natin na Maillard reaction. At pag nangyari po yan, yung lysine na kumabit dun sa sugar ay hindi na po siya digestible. Kaya bumababa ang digestibility ng lysine pag sobra-sobra ang pag-init, pagluto ng isang materyales. Kaya mas mababa ang digestibility ng lysine sa copra. Yan. Kaya kung titingnan po natin yung protein quality ng copra, So again, soybean meal, yung nasa dulo, yan po yung ating traditional na material. At lahat na nakalista po dito, ito po yung mga alternative na oilseed meals. At makikita po natin, nasa dulo po ang ating copra. So siya po ang pinakamababa ang concentration ng lysine per unit ng protein. At pag tinignan po natin, yung amount ng digestible lysine, isa rin po siya sa pinakamababa. So almost 10 times less than what you would have in soybean meal. Yeah. So ito po ang dahilan. So as I explained kanina, ito po yung epekto ng processing. So yung ating pagpapatuyo ng oil seeds prior to oil extraction, lahat po yan ay merong impact sa lysine digestibility. Ano? At yung steam conditioning step sa processing ng oil seeds, umaabot po yan as high as 140 degrees Celsius for as long as 30 minutes. So talagang matindi ang init at duration. Kaya talagang mas mataas yung maillard products na nakukuha natin. Kaya mas mababa yung digestibility ng mga amino acids, heat-sensitive amino acids tulad ng lysine. Yeah. There's another issue pagdating sa copra. Ang copra ay napakataas po ng isang amino acid. At yun po yung amino acid na arginine. No? So dito ang pinapakita ko po dito is yung difference o yung ratio ng arginine to lysine. So mas mataas itong ratio na to, mas madami yung arginine kumpara sa lysine. So bakit po ito importante? Importante ito kasi yung arginine at lysine, nag-share po yan ng transporter pagdating sa small intestine ng ating baboy at manok. At pag mas mataas ang concentration ng isa, nalilimit yung absorption ng isa pang amino acid. So dahil mataas ang arginine sa copra, nababawasan, hindi nakakapasok, hindi na-absorb si lysine. So ito rin ang isa pang dahilan kung bakit mas mababa ang lysine digestibility ng copra meal or copra expellers. No? So ngayon, ito po yung ating digestibility coefficients. Ano? So ito po ay para sa pigs. So you have copra expeller and then I also have pound kernel expeller at may compare po natin siya sa soybean meal. So makikita po natin ang soybean meal, mataas ang digestibility ng amino acids for pigs. But if we would look at copra, mas mababa po siya. Lalong-lalo na po sa lysine digestibility. Now, ganun din po para sa ating poultry. Same for broilers and even layers. So again, ito po yung digestibility of amino acids for soybean meal. Makikita po natin talagang mas mababa ang digestibility ng mga essential amino acids, particularly lysine. And remember, lysine is often the first limiting amino acid, especially if we have corn, soy-based diets. So that becomes a major challenge. So dahil dyan, pag gumamit tayo ng copra in the feed, ibig sabihin lang yan, mas marami tayong kailangang include na synthetic lysine into the diet para lang makompensate yung lower digestibility. Now, how about energy? So ito, ganun din. So we also looked at the energy value of copra expellers at makikita uli natin yung copra expeller ay mas mataas ang energy value kumpara sa mga palm kernel products pero mas mababa siya compared to soybean meal. And this is metabolizable energy. Kung titingnan naman natin yung net energy, ito po yung pinaka-accurate na measure ng energy value ng isang material, makikita rin po natin na mas mababa ang kanyang energy value compared sa soybean meal. Ganun din po. So ito po ay for growing pigs, itong NEG, at yung NES naman po ay the net energy in adult pigs, which are, for example, sows. So makikita natin, may increase in the energy value dahil yung ating mga sows may greater ability in utilizing fiber in the diet. But still, it would have lower energy value compared to soybean meal. So a major part of that reason kung bakit mas mababa ang energy value niya is related to its fiber content and fiber composition. So kung titignan po natin yung dietary fiber that's present in copra, ang pinaka-main fiber na meron doon is insoluble non-cellulosic polysaccharides which have very low energy value. No? At kung titingnan natin yung types ng sugars, kalamihan ng non-starch polysaccharides that are present in copra are the mannans, beta-mannans, glucomannans, which are difficult to digest and are considered a major anti-nutritional factor. So that is one of the reasons kung bakit mas mababa ang energy value ng copra meal compared to soybean meal. So kung ikukumpara natin dito, ang laki talaga ng difference. Okay? At ito, this is a good set of data na makikita natin na as NDF content of coconut and palm kernel products increase, meron po tayo decrease sa digestibility ng mga indispensable amino acids. So hindi lang po energy ang naapektuhan ng fiber, naapektuhan din niya yung digestibility ng amino acids. Okay. So how about in poultry? So this is in broilers. Ito yung ating ginagamit na measure ng energy for broilers. That's nitrogen corrected AME. So makikita natin, this is copra, wide yung variability. So we have copra that has energy as low as 1,200 and we have copra that is as high as 2,800. So ang laki po ng variation. So ito po yung kanyang energy value. So again, comparing it to soybean meal, for pigs, medyo mas competitive compared to soybean meal. But for copra meal, it is much lower than soybean meal. But in broilers, ganun din. Talagang mas lower yung energy value niya compared to soybean meal. So this is some work that we did sa broilers. So part of the reason kung bakit merong difference yung coconut oil and yung palm kernel products and coconut co-products is because of the type of oil that's present. At we know that palm oil has lower energy value compared to coconut oil. So that would explain kung bakit ang palm kernel products have a lower value than coconut oil, coconut co-products. And then ganun din po sa ating Philippine mallard ducks. Ito po sa ating itik Pinas. If we compare the energy value of copra meal compared to soybean meal, dito po natin makita may konting difference. Dito sa ating mga ducks, mas mataas ang energy value niya compared to soybean meal. Although ito ay numerical difference lamang, but mas competitive. So which means that the difference between the energy value of these two materials may be dependent on the species, and that would probably suggest that our ducks, especially yung ating itik Pinas, has the ability to degrade and ferment the fiber that is in copra and utilize that as part of its energy source. All right, so that is copra meal or copra expellers. But we have also other coconut processing co-products. So now we have what we call fermented copra meal. So this is a product from solid state fermentation of copra using Aspergillus niger. So ang ginagamit dito is raw copra meal, tapos yun din yung fine-ferment. And then, so that's why we would have a product called fermented copra meal. And then we also have what we call white copra meal. Ito naman yung ating coconut residue from the VCO industry. Kaya yung kulay niya, so this is from fresh coconut meat, na-extract na yung oil, yung byproduct nun, puti pa rin. Kasi walang heating na nangyari. Hindi talaga siya sinubject into very aggressive heat treatment. Kaya the color is much lighter, closer to the color of fresh coconut meat as compared to yung sunog na copra na dumaan sa napakaraming heat treatment. Okay. So kung titingnan natin yung kanyang chemical composition compared to copra expeller, makikita natin yung fermented copra meal mas mataas ang protein compared to copra, no? Pero relatively lower yung kanyang fat content, mas mababa ng konti yung crude fiber content dahil sa fermentation, ito yung kanilang gustong ma-degrade. So nakikita din natin dito, may degradation ng fiber, no? So NDF and ADF. And that could partially explain kung bakit mas tumaas ng konti yung kanyang crude protein content. Pero kung titingnan natin, tumaas din yung kanyang mineral content, particularly phosphorus. Yung white copra, in terms of composition, mas mababa ang protein niya compared sa copra, pero yung kanyang fat content is higher. No? So 18% ang residual oil content niya as compared to copra expeller. Kaya yung gross energy niya is also higher. No? But this material, it has lower fiber than copra expeller, and it also has lower phosphorus as compared to copra expeller. So kung titingnan natin din yung kanyang chemical amino acid composition, comparable, may konting difference, slightly higher yung amino acid content ng fermented copra meal, pero hindi masyadong malaki. No? White copra naman ay halos kapareho lang ng ating copra expeller. But again, if we compare it to soybean meal, talaga namang ganun pa rin. Malaki pa rin yung difference compared to soybean meal. Okay? And when we look at the digestibility of amino acids, makikita natin dito na yung fermented copra meal, halos ganun pa rin yung digestibility. Yung protein digestibility niya, hindi nalalayo. They're not statistically different. Ganun din yung lysine digestibility and so on and so forth. So the fermentation in this example probably did not really enhance the digestibility of amino acids, although slightly merong increase in the protein content of this material compared to copra. Pero yung white copra, very clear, na there could be some differences. Although dito ay intermediate yung response, but clear na merong better yung protein digestibility ng white copra compared to regular copra. But still lower than that of soybean meal. All right. Okay. And then finally, sa minerals. So phosphorus, as I mentioned, is important. So it's important that we know the digestibility of phosphorus. So yung phosphorus na nasa copra, nakabind yan sa what we call phytic acid or phytate. So if we look at the phytate content ng copra meal, it is lower than palm kernel products and soybean meal. But if we look at dahil mas mababa yung phytate content, makikita natin the phosphorus digestibility of phosphorus in copra is higher than that of palm kernel products and even soybean meal. So that is siguro yung isang magandang aspect. So dahil mas mababa yung phytate concentration, mas mataas naman. So mas mataas yung digestibility ng phosphorus na nasa copra. So, if we put it all together, yung differences sa amino acid digestibility, sa energy value, and then sa phosphorus digestibility, we can calculate what we call the relative feeding value of a material. So dito, ang standard would be soybean meal, which is set at 100. So makikita natin dito, ang relative feeding value ng copra meal is 56% of copra. So dapat dito, kung ang presyo ng copra is 10 pesos, dapat ang presyo ng copra is 560. So that's just an example para mas madali lang mag-calculate based on the value of the nutrients that are present in the material. Right, so just some few trials on the use of copra. So this is in nursery pigs. So kalimitan, we don't really use copra in young animal diets, particularly in piglets. But when you use the right values for energy and for amino acids, for digestible amino acids, you can formulate a diet in such a way na hindi negatively na maapektuhan yung performance ng pigs. And that's what we saw here. Even at 10%, we didn't see any negative impacts on body weight and performance of nursery pigs when we include copra expeller in their nursery diet or their pre-starter diet. So ganun din dito, this is another study. Copra meal naman, up to 15%. Again, they didn't see any negative impact on the use of copra when you use the right values for nutrient matrix values for the material. And then this is another experiment where they looked at the impacts on feed efficiency of nursery pigs. Dito, they did see a negative relationship. So in the use of copra, so they saw a 18 FCR points reduction as in feed efficiency or gain over feed as you increase the inclusion rate of copra meal in the diets. Okay, so what would then be the recommended inclusion rates, knowing the nutritional value of this material and then using it in practice? So this is what I would recommend. So in growing pigs, we could use more copra in pigs versus poultry because they have a better ability in utilizing materials that are relatively high in fiber. So dito, starter pigs, 15%, and then in growing finishing pigs, it's about 20%. So that would be the practical maximum if you would like to use the material without negatively impacting performance. In sows, we could use more copra in gestating diets compared to lactating diets. Kasi nga sa lactation naman, importante na ma-stimulate natin yung voluntary feed intake. And that's why we reduce yung inclusion ng mga high fiber ingredients in lactating sow diets. But what is critical here, when we use it in breeder diets, kailangan talaga siya mababa, pasado yung kanyang aflatoxin levels in the material for us to be able to use it at these levels. And then in poultry, very clear, na they have poorer ability in using this material. So you could use it at higher levels but expect that there would be differences in performance. But in broilers, in commercial broiler practice, we would use it at a very low rate, 3% in younger birds and about 5% in older birds. And then in layers, the same then. But this is not the end game. Ang importante ngayon is to look at ways we can improve the feeding value of copra. So probably we would need some interventions, some technologies. Paano natin mas mapapaganda yung value ng copra para at the end, we can further increase pa yung ability natin to utilize this material in our diets. All right, so I think that's the last slide that I have. So thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
All right, thank you po, Doc Rommel, for that very informative and inspirational presentation na how we can utilize yung ating mga alternative feed ingredients. Again, to our participant po, you may type your question for Dr. Solabo in our QA tab. And for our participants po sa Facebook page and YouTube channel, you can use the comment section. So we have more than 100 viewers po across all platforms so watching us right now. So to formally open our Q&A session, we have a first question here sa QA tab po. Can we request for a copy of presentation of Dr. Solabo po? It is very comprehensive and informative po. Would be very useful for our researchers po. Thank you po. Sa copy po ng presentation po, Doc Rommel, ang alam ko po, they can playback po ito sa Facebook page po natin or YouTube channel. Pwede niyo po silang paulit-ulitin doon.
And then just copy. Picture.
Yes po. You can take screenshots po.
Kahit 100 times niyo pong panoorin. Magagamit po ninyo.
From our other panelists po, meron na po bang mga questions sa Facebook page and YouTube channel? I think, Doc, shout out daw po to Angeli Magaro from CLSU. Si Jelly. Okay po. I think, Doc, siguro po ako po muna yung magbigay ng first question. So, for me po, Doc, I really appreciate po talaga yung inyong mga research works and very inspiring talaga. So, question ko lang po doon, Doc, is meron po bang parang economic part na pag ginamit ni farmer si copra meal as a replacer dun sa iba nating feed ingredients ay may sure profit po ba in terms of magiging gains ng animals natin? Thank you po.
Thank you, Nigel. I think that's a very important question, ano? Kasi nga, at the end, whenever we evaluate materials or anything that we use in the diets, kailangan we decide based on economics. Kasi yun naman talaga importante, di ba? Hindi mailagay, kailangan makakuha ka ng ganansya. So it's always important to evaluate the use of a material and then look if it's going to work. So when we say if it's going to work, it means na may balik. So when I say yung recommended inclusion rates, that means when we formulate the diets correctly, those are the maximum inclusion rates that we can use in the diets without negatively affecting performance, and potentially even profitability. But yung profitability kasi maraming maraming factors yan. So it can be impacted by the value ng mga materyales na nasa feed. So for example, kung gagamit tayo ng copra, tatandaan po natin hindi lang po soya ang pinapalitan yan. Pag ina-add po natin yan sa feed, meron din energy po yan. So meron yung partial reduction siguro sa coconut oil that we add in the diet or maybe a little bit sa corn, Pero may balik din, dahil nga mas mababa yung kanyang concentration ng mga digestible amino acids, tataas naman yung concentration ng mga synthetic amino acids that we add in the diet. So hindi ibig sabihin na pag meron kang alternative material na dinagdag mo, automatic bababa ang cost ng diet ko. Hindi po ganon. So kailangan talaga tignan po natin ano po ang nagiging changes in the diet. Look at the cost of the diet. Kung mas mababa siya, that's good. And then pag ginawa na po natin yung ating feeding trials, malalaman po natin doon sa dulo, kung ano po yung performance, tignan po natin yung tinatawag na margin over feed cost. Para malaman natin kung mas mababa yung presyo, talagang magdadala ng kita. So I think that will be true for all types of materials that we would like to test in the feed, hindi lang po sa copra. So kailangan po talaga tignan po natin yung economics.
Alright. Thank you po, Doc Romel. Thank you po sa very comprehensive na answer po sa aking question. And now po, meron po tayong question from an anonymous attendee po. So, question niyo po, Doc, is meaning po currently di pa talaga natin kayang paltan ang soybean meal.
That is the hard fact. Pero hindi ibig sabihin nag-give up tayo, Kasi sa akin, naniniwala talaga ako na walang imposible. Pero importanteng malaman natin yung pinakita ko sa inyo. Kasi sometimes nagkakaroon tayo ng mga sweeping claims agad na ito ay pwede nating ipalit dito. I think we should be very careful when we make those type of statements. But the reality is, soybean meal is really a material that's very difficult to replace. Pero hindi tayo titigil. Hahanap at hahanap tayo. So from the materials that we have, kailangan mag-innovate tayo, mag-isip tayo paano natin knowing yung disadvantages or maybe kung ano yung mga negative characteristics of the material, how can we mitigate yung impacts na yon and maybe improve the value. So for example, kung sa coconut co-products lang, sa akin talaga, I think na ang isang potential material that can be maybe closer to the value of soybean meal is if we produce what we call coconut protein concentrate. But that would include some changes in the process. So yung product na yon can be through what we call fractionation, na sineseparate na natin yung mga different components. So kunyari, i-fractionate natin, tanggalin natin, ihiwalay natin yung fiber fraction. Yung 22% na o 21% na protein ng copra, I am sure that will elevate. Tataas yon more than probably closer to 40% when we remove all the fiber fractions. And then, syempre, hindi pa yon lahat protein, di ba? Meron pa yung ash, meron pa yung maybe other things. Just by simply removing the ash, fractionation again yon. So halos sa may iwan na lang doon is yung protein. So that material probably would even have a higher protein content than soybean meal. So kung yung material na yon ay hindi dumaan sa aggressive heating process, and then I think the value of that material would probably be better than what we have today. So kung sino makaka-develop nun, sa tingin ko, that would be a very good material. So theoretically, sa akin, that potentially could be a material that we can develop that can maybe be an effective replacement. Ang magiging issue na lang natin is yung arginine. And again, that through technology, that can also be maybe taken out or maybe reduced. I don't know. I'm not an engineer, but if that can be done, we could change the profile of that protein, and that I think we can pattern it and make it closer to what we would have, to soybean meal. So if money can be invested on that, I think that could be a potential material. So hindi imposible. So sa akin lang talaga, kailangan lang talaga tayo mag-invest, mag-isipan na maigi. Paano ba tayo magde-develop na materyales na talagang locally produced, kasi kailangan natin ma-ensure yung security din ng ating mga feed materials. Kasi pag tayo hindi na pwede mag-import ng soya, paano na tayo gagawa ng feed? Wala tayong magandang pampalit. So I think that should be a challenge to all of us.
Apo, Doc. Thank you po, Doc Romel, for that answer. So to Mr. Anonymous, wag po tayong sumuko. May paraan po tayo dyan. Okay po, for our next question po, Doc Romel, from Mr. Roy Limpangog, commercially available daw po ba yung white copra meal?
Very enterprising. Yes, you can buy it already. So sa ngayon, kasi parang wala tayong distinction hindi tayo nagke-create ng categories. Yung pinapakita ko sa inyo is an effort to create categories within a large group of materials. Dati kasi parang isang material lang ang natin pero marami pala siyang klase. So yes, you can actually buy it. So for example, yung white copra, we bought that in Quezon. Nabibili lang yan sa palengke. So, and then if you have connections probably with companies that produce BCO, then you could potentially source this material from them. So sa akin, this is a much better material compared to regular copra, and I think that could have better room in diets as compared to our regular copra expeller. So yes, you can buy it. Mabibili po siya.
Okay po, alright po. So hanap lang po tayo ng mga BCO companies na pwede ma-source out. Okay po, for next question po, Doc, from Miss Sarah Pam. What is more useful to use with animal diets using a lot of copra meal? Exogenous silanase or exogenous mannase?
Okay, again, that's a very good question from a good friend, Dr. Pam. Well, kung iisipin natin, so the primary NSP that's present in copra are the mannans or glucomanans. And it is mainly it is a non-structural carbohydrate. Well, it is within the cell, within the plant cell. So which means that para ma-break down mo yung mga mannans that are within the plant cell wall, then you need to have some activities that could help break down the cell wall. So I think potentially it would be logical to maybe look at a wider range of enzyme activities that could break down cell wall NSPs, and then the mannans which are non-cell wall NSPs, maybe that would give them access. So ngayon, mas mabe-break down na natin yung mga mannans that are present within the cell wall. So I think that would be the best approach rather than just specifically using a single enzyme to break down the mannans.
Okay po. Thank you po, Doc Romel, for answering the question of Miss Pam. Next question po, Doc, is a very interesting question po, for an anonymous attendee. So in backyard raising daw po, they incorporated coco pulp or sapal, your fresh or sun-dry. So which of the two is more advantageous in terms of nutrient content? Yung sa sapal daw po, Doc, yung fresh daw po ba o yung sun-dry?
Well, potentially, I think yung kung fresh, ibig sabihin po nun, may moisture pa ho yun. Ang lagi po nating tatandaan, ang sustansya po ay nasa dry matter ng isang materyales, wala po sa tubig. So kaya po natin kalimitan, yung mga materials that we use in feed, pinapatuyo po natin yan para at least mga around 90% dry matter, yung ating material, para yung concentration din ng sustansya na nandoon sa dry matter ay mas mataas kumpara sa fresh. So potentially yung dried would have a higher feeding value than the fresh.
Okay po, Doc. Thank you po, Doc Romel. Another question po, I think we can still entertain 2 more questions po, Doc Romel.
Apa.
So Doc, ito pong isa sa anonymous attendee po ulit. Parang related po to dun sa nabanggit nyo kanina about fractionalization. Ang question niya po is, hi Doc, with fractionalization, do you think it will be economically justifiable to use copra?
Okay. Yung example na ginawa, that's just a hypothetical. Pero sa totoo lang, hindi po siya hypothetical kasi meron na pong gumawa noon. Nagawa na po yun dito sa biotech, pero hindi po yung intention ng biotech when they develop that. Pero sa akin, as a nutritionist, I see the potential in that process. So fractionation po. Anong ulit tanong? Nawala tuloy sa mind ko, Nigel.
Doc, kung ano daw po, economically justifiable
okay.
daw po kumain.
Yeah. So kung economically justifiable, well, we don't know if it's economically justifiable kasi you need to develop the process. Kasi nga yung current na material that we buy, copra, is lang siya tawag dito. Kung sa totoo lang, kung hindi natin ginagamit sa feed, waste product siya. Pero because meron utility, ginagamit natin siya sa feed. So may value yung material. But if we would invest, and maybe really take it seriously, to look at, maybe develop a material that can be a better material than what we have, I think that would be the process that could give us that. Kasi nga, it eliminates all the problems that are in copra mill or copra expeller. So, una, yung heat damage. Walang heat damage sa fractionation. So, yung digestibility ng mga amino acids that are present in the material probably, hypothetically, would also be higher. Walang aflatoxin. Bakit? Kasi in fractionation, you use fresh coconut meat. So, hindi na siya yung ini-store, ini-imbak sa warehouse ng napakatagal, di ba? At mag-grow ng mold. para mag-produce ng aflatoxin. So potentially, mas malinis siya. Wala siyang contamination. Ano? And then, dahil dito, ina-isolate mo na yung protein, yung actual protein na nasa coconut. Ano? Then that is the value. No? So yun yung valuable component. Ano? So we don't know. But potentially, it could be it can be a very valuable material. Ano? But it's hard to answer kung ano yung economics nun right now. Ano? Because again, that is something that probably we need to think about a little bit more and develop. But potentially in terms of feeding value, it could be comparable and there could be technologies that can lead us to that.
All right po. Thank you po, Doc Romel. For our next question po, Doc, due to aflatoxin concern po, parang di po recommended na basta mag-formulate or basta mag-include ang mga backyard farmers po ng copra meal or copra expeller po. Ano? Parang concern lang po yung Doc yung inaan for backyard farmers.
Well, there are two things. Ano? So sa mga malalaking feed mill po, part po talaga ng quality control system nila o ng QC nila is to test the copra for afla. So yung iba talagang quantitative na measure talaga nila yung amount ng aflatoxin. Ano? So most likely yung nagagamit po nila at yung ina-accept po nila ay yung mas malinis na copra. So ang tanong ngayon, yung copra na hindi po pumapasa, saan po kaya pumupunta? Isipin po natin, ano, saan po kaya yung pupunta? Doon sa hindi po nagte-test. Ano? So, pero hindi ibig sabihin po nun, hindi po agad natin pwedeng gamitin. Ano? Ang tinitignan po kasi natin yung sa potential impact sa hayop is yung actual intake ng mycotoxin na yon. Ano? Hindi lang yung level na nandun sa feed. Ano? Although yun nga, mahirap malaman kung mataas ba o mababa. Ano? Pero when you have low levels in the diet, then potentially ang potential na impact nun may be much less, maybe not as great as you would have kung talagang mataas ang inclusion o mas marami kang ginagamit na copra in the feed. But that's something to watch out for, kasi nga yun yung challenge po natin sa smallhold. Talagang wala naman po tayong capacity para matest. Ang problema po sa afla, hindi naman po yung sa amoy-amoy lang at sa kulay lang, malalaman na po natin kung mataas ba o mababa. So yun po yung medyo challenging po sa atin. Kung makakakuha po kayo ng mas fresh siguro, maybe that could be better than maybe an older batch siguro ng copra. But yeah, naintindihan ko po, yun siguro yung magiging challenge pag wala po tayong ability to test.
Okay po. Thank you po, Doc Romel. Thank you po sa lahat ng ating participants. Before we end the open forum, we have last question na po ito, Doc Romel. From Mr. Alan Lagradilla. So thank you daw po, Doc, for the very informative presentation. He just want to ask lang po, Doc, is what is the minimum and maximum temperature drying/cooking of raw copra? Salamat daw po, Doc.
Okay. Of cooking, I'm sorry, hindi ko masyadong nakuha yung
yes po,
part.
Doc. What is the minimum and maximum daw po temperature?
Okay. Okay, that's a very good question kasi ang iniiwasan po natin is heat damage. Ano po?
Yes po.
So heat damage would begin siguro when temperatures, yung pinakita ko sa inyo kanina, that's 140 degrees Celsius. Normally, sa feed process, sa pelleting process, which includes heat treatment, mayroon tayong steam conditioning, that's normally somewhere around 70-80 degrees Celsius. So that would be a temperature where we know there would be no significant heat damage. So probably that would be the temperature, probably na pwede natin sabihin maximum, but probably I'm not too sure kung yun talaga yung maximum, but that is what is normally applied na temperature when we heat process a material. But minimum temperature, I don't think wala naman pong minimum temperature. Ang iniiwasan lang po natin is high temperatures. And then hindi lang yung init, yung duration din po ng pagluluto o pag-iinit. Siguro importante din po yan. The longer the duration, the higher is the probability na mag-create ka ng heat damage.
Okay po. Thank you po, Doc Romel, for answering our last question. I hope Mr. Alan answer po ni Doc Romel ang inyong question. And now, we would like to thank our speaker for his time and presence. So to express our appreciation to Dr. Romel, the College of Agriculture and Food Science, University of the Philippines, Los Baños, College Laguna, Philippines, presents this certificate of appreciation to Dr. Romel C. Solabo for serving as resource person on the webinar entitled Coconut Co-Products as Feed Ingredients in Livestock and Poultry Diets during the Aggie Stock 3 of Life webinar series part 2 held on 27 April 2023 via Zoom. Given this 27th day of April 2023 at the College of Agriculture and Food Science, University of the Philippines, Los Baños, signed Dr. P.2 M. Agbisit Jr. Ardin. And again, just like that, we have ended this season's AGP Stock 3 of Life webinar series. Again, please watch out for the upcoming webinar on rice science research and technology part 2 in partnership with the DA Rice next month. And again, guys, for our participants, just a few reminders, no? To get your e-certificates, please fill out our evaluation form. The link is provided in our chat box, or you may simply scan the QR code at the screen. And next is you can follow our Facebook pages, no? UPLB, College of Agriculture and Food Science, and yung Facebook page din po namin sa IAS, the UPLB CAPS Institute of Animal Science, and stay updated with our latest activities. All right, so to wrap up our today's session, let us call on the head of Animal Nutrition Division at the Institute of Animal Science, CAPS UPLB, Dr. Noel B. Lumbo, to deliver the closing remarks. Doc Noel?
Thank you very much, Sir Nigel. So I am tasked to do the closing remarks. So we would like to extend our sincerest gratitude to all the participants in today's Aggie Peace Talk on the Tree of Life. Congratulations also to Dr. Romel Solabo for such a comprehensive and timely discussion on copra and other coconut co-products, which is in tune with the feed industry's current needs on the potential replacement of energy and protein sources. Copra meal and copra expeller have a very good potential if properly processed and enriched using advances in processing and biotechnology. This activity has shed the light on the various opportunities and challenges, but we hope that the participants have gained valuable insights on the nutritional benefits, processing methods, and proper incorporation of copra into animal diets. It is crucial to consider the quality and safety of copra as well as the limitations associated with their use. It is therefore our goal here at the Animal Nutrition Division of the Institute of Animal Science here in UP Los Baños to continue the research and development in improving the feeding value of copra and to collaborate with stakeholders to promote the best practices and optimize the use of coconut co-products as feed ingredients. Lastly, we hope that the webinar provided a valuable forum for discussion and learning, and it is hoped that the knowledge and insights gained will contribute to the advancement of sustainable and efficient use of copra and other coconut co-products in animal feed production towards our country's food security. So again, maraming salamat po sa pagdalo sa aming webinar today. So have a great day ahead and thank you very much again.
All right, thank you po, Doc Lumbo, for the closing remarks. Again, on behalf of the College of Agriculture and Food Science, we would like to thank our participants for a healthy engagement this morning. We also express our sincere thanks to Dr. Romel C. Solabo for his insightful lecture. And special thanks also to Dr. Corpus and Dr. Lumbo for gracing us with their presence this morning. To the entire CAPS webinar committee led by Associate Dean Lilia and Fernando Corpus, and to our Dean, Dr. Elpidio M. Agbisit Jr., thank you for initiating this webinar. And lastly, allow me to acknowledge Ms. Kamla Zaira Labadia as our online and technical moderator, Mr. Arthur and my dear Rachel Bautista as technical support this morning. Stay safe and have a nice day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you po.
Thanks, Nigel. Thanks,
Thank you
thanks,
po,
Ma'am
Dr.
Kamla. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you po, everyone. Pwede na pong mag-leave ang ating attendees. Pwede na rin pong mag-leave ang panelists. Thank you po.
Okay po. Thank you po.
A 112 years ago, the UP Board of Regents had a vision to develop their true firstborn college that will spearhead national development through agriculture. At the foot of Mount Makiling, Edwin B. Copeland, together with 7 faculty and 12 students, embarked on the journey to create the UP College of Agriculture, or UPCA. Through its 112 years of existence, the college has produced over 1,000 technologies and variety of plants and animals, 9 national scientists, over 30 outstanding young scientists, and more than 18,000 graduates contributing to agricultural development. UPCA, now College of Agriculture and Food Science, or CAFS, has been continuously contributing to nation building through its instruction, research, and extension function. A mere 10 years after establishment, the college was able to start breeding works with the production of sugarcane varieties with high productivity and resistance to Fiji and mosaic disease. In the 1920s, the importance of agriculture was intensified and UPCA was recognized as neighboring countries began sending their students to Los Baños because of the high quality of education. In the 1930s, breeds with superior characteristics such as the Burkhala pig, Los Baños Cantonese chicken, and filament cattle were developed. The 1960s was a fruitful decade for research. Makapuno, a coconut cultivar often made into a dessert, was pioneered and perfected. Meanwhile, the Dairy Training and Research Institute was the first in the country to freeze buffalo semen, paving the way for artificial insemination of local carabaos. Along with the establishment of UPLB in the 70s, the college received the prestigious Ramon Magsaysay Award for International Understanding, Asia's counterpart for the Nobel Peace Prize. In the same decade, the C4 plants were developed. The soil test kits were produced in support of the Masagana 99 program, and the mango induction technique was introduced. Continuing the production of quality research outputs in the 1980s, techniques to minimize post-harvest losses, the accelerated fish sauce manufacturing process, and the rapid test kit for the detection of pesticide residue on vegetables were developed. The 1990s saw many new varieties across species or crop types, including Sinta Papaya, the first Philippine-bred hybrid, UPLB Gold, a durian variety, and Doña Amelita, a musaenda named after the wife of former President Fidel Ramos. The award-winning National Corn-Based Farmer Scientist RDE Training Program, or FSTP, was also established around this time and still remains as one of the university's primary extension programs. In the field of instruction, the book titled Integrating Sustainable Agriculture in the BSA Curriculum, the UPLB College of Agriculture Experience, was published in 1999. At present, the College of Agriculture and Food Science, or CAFS, continues to be the premier institution of higher learning in agriculture and food science and remains committed to nation building through its instruction, research, and extension programs. In order to produce the best graduates, all of our courses are outcomes-based education, and continuous improvement of the curriculum is being practiced to meet the challenges of the 21st century. As testament of excellence, CAFS is constantly recognized by different organizations. In research, we continue to implement relevant studies with focus on the 12 priority commodities to address food security. Moreover, technologies are constantly developed to aid in responsible food production. Supplementing these are extension activities to disseminate the knowledge generated to improve food productivity and livelihood of the people. We believe that present technologies will future-proof our food systems. Some of our notable developments are iDetect, Coraginam, Plant Health and Pest Clinic, Pest Management Tools and Techniques, Smarter Pest Identification Technology or SPITech, Snap Hydroponics, Drone Technology, Rapid Immunofilter Assay for Virus Indexing, Nanofertilizers Fertigrow, Corbogrow, Nanobiosensors, Biochar. We at the College of Agriculture and Food Science will continue to promote and nurture a culture with innovative yet conscientious minds and cutting-edge skills to lead and serve the country and the region. We are one college with one goal towards sustainable food systems.